Dear students, welcome to your social science class. In today's class, we are going to deal with the topic banking transactions from your business studies, that is unit number 1, lesson number 10. In this module, we are going to learn about the meaning of banks and characteristics of bank. Before learning the topics, let us just get to know why it is so important to have bank transactions in day-to-day life. I would like to give you a very small example. Whereas Mr. Ganesh and Mr. John, after their retirement, they wanted to save their amount in the bank. But Mr. John, he did not wanted to keep his money in the bank and wanted to keep it at his home. What happened? His amount after certain years was into multiple of the amount which he has deposited in the bank. Along with that, he had some interest also to be paid from the bank. Whereas for John, he has lost his money due to the theft. Now just tell me, dear students, do you think it is safe to keep your amount and all your valuables in the bank, or it is very much safe to keep it at your home? I would like to advise that keeping all your valuables as well as the hardcore money in the bank rather than keeping it home. Let us just understand the term what do you mean by bank and the features of the bank. What is a bank according to you? Banks are developed about 200 years ago, and the nature of the bank has changed as the days passed on, and the term bank, which means it related to the financial transactions. Banks are the financial institutions which use the money deposited by the customers and as investments, and it is agreed to return the same amount which has been collected from the customers whenever they require it. So this we call it as a bank. This process of receiving the deposits from the customers and repaying them whenever they require, that process is called as bank. So let us understand what is the nature of the bank. So usually when it comes to the nature of the bank, it is nothing but the features of the bank. What are all the facilities which has been provided by the bank? Banks advance money to the agriculture, industries, traders and all other sections of the society which are the main organs of the development of a country. Yes, we know India is a developing country. Of course, to become a developed country, we need lot of source and capital investments. Yes, it is not only in the field of agriculture. Being an agriculture country, we do have industries based on agriculture and also traders who are in need of the financial support. So, the bank will provide the financial support to the all sector of the economy to make India as a developed country and accelerate the growth of the country. What is a banking? It receives money from those who want to save their money. Yes, what do? Your papa or mama, after spending certain amount of their salary or wages which has been received, they will keep minimum sum of amount as a saving for your future studies, or it could be a daughter's wedding or to build a house, etc. So the saved money in the form of deposits, it lends to the people, those who are required, those who requires the money in the form of loans. The services which is being served by the bank is called as banking. In the sense, it is very simple, dear students. Keep in mind that receiving the deposits from the customers and also lending the same amount which is being collected by the customers to the borrowers, that in the sense the people who are in need of the money. So this services which has been provided by the bank is called as banking. So a bank repays the deposits in the form of check, drafts and some other forms. What are the characteristics of banks? It mainly deals with the money. An individual, it could be, or a firm or a company, acceptance of the deposit from the customers, lending the loans to the borrowers. It could be agency services, utility services, profit and service orientation, ever increasing functions, connecting links, banking, business and name identity. Let us understand all these topics in detail. First one, dealing with money. Banks are the financial institutions which deals with the money of the public. Yes, we are the people who are going to deposit our savings in the bank. Using the same amount, the bank will also provide loans to various customers. It could be as a personal loan, home loan, vehicle loan, or an industrial development loan, etc., etc., to the people, and also it makes that the development takes place. So, banks are the financial institutions which deal with the money of the public. Second point, individual, or it could be a firm or a company. Bank may be a person also, an individual person who is lending the money, or it could be a firm or a small company also. So, banking company means the institution or the person who is dealing with the money in the form of deposit, or it could be in the form of lending loans. Third point is the acceptance of deposits. Accept in the sense to receive the deposit from the public. These deposits are returned whenever the customers demand it. These deposits are returned along with the certain rate of interest, if at all, if the deposit is with the bank for a longer duration of time. So, banks provide security to these deposits. It takes the utmost care of your security of the amount which has been deposited in the banks. Banks acts as custodians of the deposits of the public. So, it takes the whole and sole responsibility of safeguarding your documents or the investment, or we call it as the deposits in the bank. So, payment and withdrawal. Banks facilitate the customers to withdraw their deposits in the form of checks or drafts. So, whenever they require it, it could be paid even through the mode of check to the third party or the seller, or while withdrawing, even you can submit the checks or the drafts to the bank or the concerned person to whomever you have to pay. Next comes the agency and the utility services. What are these agency and the utility services? Yes, agency services are those services which are being provided by the banks to its customers. Especially, it could be like collection of bills, collecting drafts, checks, and also paying your LIC policies, etc. Whereas when it comes to utility services, these are the services which are provided to every customers of a bank. It could be the debit card facility, credit card facility, paying your EMIs, etc. So, banks provide various banking facility to its customers. They include the general utility services as well as the agency services. Next comes the point, that is profit and service orientation. A bank is a profit-seeking institution having service-oriented approach. These days, we can assume that no business runs without a profit. Yes, dear students, keep in mind, even bank is a profit as well as service orientation. Just now we saw what are all the different kinds of services, that is, it could be an agency services or the utility services which is being provided by the bank, but also it runs for a profit sake. You might get a question like, how does a bank get profit? Yes, you're right. You're absolutely right. With the rate of interest which is being levied on the loans provided to the borrowers. Yes, whenever if a person wants a money from the bank, or if a company wants the money from the bank as a loan, the concerned person has to repay the principal amount along with the interest with certain rate of interest. So, with this interest only, the bank is also paying us the interest additionally to the amount which we keep safely throughout the year. So, it is a profit as well as service orientation. So, ever increasing functions will be the next function of the bank. So, bank will continuously expand and diversify their functions and services and activities with the various kind of branches. You might have seen the main branch will be in some other district, or the headquarters of the bank will be in different state, but it will have branches all over your area or surrounding and the ATM facility which is provided. So it is kind of ever increasing functions, and it gives a continuous and a expand, diversify to meet the demands of the customers, and it is based on service kind of activities. Connecting links. How does a bank act as a connecting link? As I've told you since the beginning, it acts as a connecting point between the depositors as well as the borrowers. How does it do? Yes, if you have surplus amount after your expenditure, what do? You are going to deposit the money in the bank. Whereas if a person want excess of amount in the form of loan, again he is going and meeting the bank to receive the amount in the form of loans. Hence, it acts as a connecting link between the depositors as well as the customers. So, bank collects surplus money of the customers and lends the same to the people, those who are in need of the money. And next comes the name identity. Banks always add bank in their name. Why does it so? We have our own name. In the same way, the customer has to identify which bank he is dealing with. So, usually you might have heard the names called Canara Bank, Vijaya Bank, or the Corporation Bank, or State Bank of India and State Bank of Mysore, etc. It enables the customers to know in which bank they are dealing with. And for your kind information, dear students, make a note. Now, all the state banks are merged under SBI Bank, that is State Bank of India. Just now, we saw what is the nature of a bank. Let us learn about the functions of a bank. As I've told you, accepting deposits from public and others, lending money to public in the form of loans and other institutions, discounting on bills, transferring money from one place to another, or it is remittances, collecting money on checks and drafts, hiring safe deposit lockers, conducting foreign exchange transactions, keeping valuables in safe custody, issuing letters of credit and guarantee, conducting government transactions. It could be state or central. So, accepting deposits from the public, or it could be a person or an individual or a firm or a company. It is its main duty to receive the money from the people and others. So, what is the next step? After receiving the amount, it cannot keep it itself without making any profit. To do the profit, what it has to do? It has to lend to the people, those who are in need of the money. Next comes the discounting of bills. Dear students, let us try to understand what is a discounting on bills. For example, if I am the person X and I have given it to the person Y that on the particular date, that is on this month 28th, I am going to, or the bank is going to pay him rupees 30,000. But Mr. Y, he do not have so much of time to wait, and he is in need of money in the mid of 15th or 20th. So what does he do? He goes to the bank, and in case Mr. Y wants it in the mid of 15th or by 20th, all he has to do is he has to take the bill and get it to the bank, and since the time duration which has been promised by the person is not fulfilled, the bank will pay him the amount after charging certain rate of interest. The interest will be paid by the sellers. Okay, that we call it as discounting of bills. Now, transferring money from one place to another. In olden days, you might have seen it would take even 2 days or 3 days to transfer the money, and it has to move on to the other bank, and transferring from one bank to another bank was a great task in olden days. But now, due to the technology and the modern world, and with the help of internet, it is easy for us to transfer the money from one place to another, even beyond the geographical limits also has become a very easy thing now. So, collecting money on the checks, drafts and bills. This is also an important point to be noted in the functions of bank. Hiring safe and deposit lockers. For example, if the customer wants to keep his all documents, or it could be bonds or the or the money in a safe deposit lockers, here the bank will provide an opportunity for the customer to safeguard all his deposit as well as the important documents. So conducting foreign exchange transactions. Let us assume that I myself have been to America, and can I transact there with the Indian rupees? That is certainly not possible. So what I have to do? I have to exchange my rupees into dollars. Exactly. I have to exchange, or I have to convert the rupees into dollars. So where do I go and whom do I approach? Of course, you have to deal with the bank. That is, here comes the foreign exchange, or we call it as the transaction, which helps you to convert the rupees into dollars or dollars into rupees. Next comes the keeping valuables in safe custody. Yes, we do know that our house will have a safe lockers, but many times we cannot trust whenever we leave the house all alone. What do? It is always advisable to keep all your excess money or the expensive jewelries or bonds or important documents to keep under the safe custody of the bank. Next, issuing letters of credit and guarantee. What is this letter of credit and guarantee? Yes, in case if you are going and buying a huge machine from the seller, here the bank stands as a support to you, and it gives a letter of credit or a letter of guarantee saying this customer of my bank will pay you the amount. So this we call it as the letters of credit or the guarantee. Conducting government transactions, that could be state and central. Dear students, hope you are all aware that the mother of the bank, we call it as the Reserve Bank of India. According to the norms or the rules and regulations only, the bank has to, the other banks, it could be the state level banks or the national level banks, has to perform their transactions. So, it has to be according to the norms which are set by the government, or it could be as per the Reserve Bank of India. So now we saw what are all the functions which is being provided by the bank. Dear students, kindly make a note that the functions of the bank are the most expected question from this lesson for 3 marks. Hope you have made a note of it. After the functions of the bank, let us understand what is the relationship between the bankers and customers. Now we got to know like what is a bank, what is banking, nature of a bank and functions of a bank. Let us understand the relationship between the bankers and the customers. There are two kinds of relationship. One is the general relationship and the second one is the special relationship. Let us understand, under the general relationship, we do have the primary relationship, subsidiary relationship and the agent and principal relationship. Let us understand what is this primary relationship. It is just nothing but the debtor and the creditor relationship. Yes, who is the debtor? Who is having the excess amount and who is going to deposit in the bank will be called as the debtor, and the creditor. For example, under the relationship between the bankers and the customers, we do have two different categories, that is general relationship and special relationship. Under the general relationship, we do have primary relationship, that is debtor and the creditor relationship, and second comes the subsidiary relationship, and the third is agent and the principal relationship. Primary relationship, it is the main duty of a bank, or we call it as the function of a bank, that is to deal between the debtor and creditor. Debtor, if I have the surplus amount, I become the debtor, and creditor, if you want money, if I am lending you my money to you, then I become the creditor. Yes, so it is as simple as that. It is the primary relationship between any bank or the customer. Secondly, it comes the subsidiary relationship, that is the trustee and the beneficiary relationship. Here the trustee and beneficiary relationship. Here the trustee will look after the property which is owned by some other person for a duration, for certain period of time, and returns it to them whenever they require it. And then comes the agent and the principal relationship. As I've told you, it provides agency services also, and it works as an agent between the customer and the bank, and also as the third party. Next, let us come to the special relationship. Obligation of honor checks and obligation of maintain the secrecy of accounts. The important topic is obligation to honor the checks. For example, in case if I have the cash in my account and if I want to withdraw, I would have written a check to somebody else and the third party will go and remit the check in the bank, and when the bank pays him the amount, it is called as the obligation of honor of the checks. And secondly, we speak about the obligation of maintain the secrecy of account. It is only the bank and the account holder and the beneficiary will be able to know the details about his bank transaction, how many times he has deposited the amount or how much he has withdrawn with a span of time, or how many branches does he has the account, or what kind of account he has. Everything is very confidential. Like if at all if we speak about the black money, now also we people are unable to find out like how much amount is being invested in various countries, because every bank in the country will follow the simple rules, that is the obligation to maintain the secrecy of account. Trusting on this, every person or every individual or a firm invests the money in the bank. So here the third party will not be let to know about the secrecy or the account details or the business transactions with the bank. So apart from this, what are all the other services which has been provided by the bank? Debit card and credit cards, safe deposit lockers, personal loans, trust services, internet banking, home and vehicle loans, signature guarantees, mutual funds. Let us understand what is debit card and credit cards. In case if a person called A has enough amount in his account and if he holds a card to swipe or to use his amount, that we call it as a debit card. Next comes the credit card. The credit card which is being provided by the bank to its customers to repay the amount, even though if we do not have sufficient balance in the account. For example, Mr. Ravi is going to buy a washing machine in a mall, and if we do not have the balance, sufficient balance in his account also, the bank will stand as a third party to guarantee the company, or it pays to the company, whereas on an EMI every month Mr. Ravi has to repay the credit card amount to the bank along with certain rate of interest which is being charged by the bank. Safe deposit lockers. So under the safe deposit lockers, probably all your documents, valuable expensive jewelries, everything is kept safely under the supervision of the bank. Next comes the personal loans. When it comes to the loans, it needn't be only the personal loans, it could be housing loans or vehicle loans, industrial loans or agricultural loans. So, when it comes to the loans, on a rate of interest, you will be given a loan based on your qualification, or it could be on the assets what you have. So, you have to repay it to the bank with the rate of interest. So, trust services, it comes under the primary functions, that is, it provides a services between the trustee as well as the beneficiary. It takes care of a property for a particular period of time. So, thus we call it as trust services. Internet banking. In case if I want to transfer the amount right now to the person who is living in Dubai, is also possible with this internet banking, because with the dynamic world, everything has changed. Yes, dear students, keep in mind internet banking has come up with so many features that you needn't go and stand in a queue to drop in or deposit your amount or to withdraw your amount. So, home and vehicle loans. In case if you are an individual and you want to buy a house, definitely the bank will come forward to give you loans including the vehicle loans. So, signature guarantees and the mutual fund is also the services which are provided by the bank. So mutual funds are the long-term investments wherein you cannot get the returns immediately for a tenure of 1 year or 2 year, or it could be the 3 years. It takes a quite a long period of times. So these are the services which are offered by the banks. So in this lesson, in this module, you have learned what do you mean by a bank, the meaning of banking, characteristics and nature of a bank, functions of a bank, and also the services which are rendered by bank. Dear students, please keep in mind, as I have told you, the functions of bank is the most expected question from this module. Hope you have understood the lesson. Let us meet again in the second module of the same lesson. Thank you. So, this presentation was brought to you by Sachitra C, Sri Renuka Education Society, Rajachinagar, Bangalore North. Thank you.